This is Special Prosecutor Larry Klayman.
I'm the only lawyer ever to obtain a court ruling that a president of the United States committed a crime.
For truth. For competition.
As a young lawyer, I helped break up AT&T. That's why you have all your cell phones today.
For sovereignty. For the Republic.
I'm the guy who at Judicial Watch, which I founded, uncovered the Chinagate scandal. Millions of dollars going to the Clinton campaign, corrupting our political system.
For the privacy of citizens.
And I'm the only guy to have enjoined the National Security Agency from mass surveillance on hundreds of millions of Americans.
Tearing it up.
I'm the son of meatpackers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I know how to slice and dice.
Bringing it back.
We're going to take this country apart and put it back together again in the way envisioned by our founding fathers.
It's not just talk.
We're not just regurgitating news stories. Larry Klayman, special prosecutor, is making the news.
And now, here's Larry.
Welcome to this week's edition of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman. We have yet another great show. More things have happened throughout the week. I've got a column that's going to be running tonight on WND.com over the weekend. I call your attention to it. You can find it on our website at freedomwatchusa.org. It's concerning many of the things I'm going to talk about on this show today. We're going to have Bob Barr in the third segment, that great former congressman, one of the only people that I ever trust. I think the only person I ever trusted on Capitol Hill. He was former U.S. attorney from Georgia. He's going to give us his views on the state of the nation and what's been going on. It continues a downward slide. We know, for instance, that the president's lawyers, Jay Sekulow, John Dowd, Ty Cobb, have been predicting that things were going to end with this so-called Russian collusion and obstruction of justice investigation of Robert Mueller. First, they said Thanksgiving, then they said Christmas, then it was just after the New Year. Now we're in the middle part of March, the Ides of March. Perhaps that tells you something. Because what's happening at this point is like a Greek tragedy. We've got a president who wants to change the way things work, who wants to make America great again. We've got people supporting him that voted for him, like you and me and others. I firmly believe he's our last chance before we get someone even worse than Bill Clinton or Barack Obama, or for that matter, George W. Bush, who was totally worthless, incompetent, and frankly not exactly the sharpest knife in the drawer. He's the one who gave us Obama. But now we have a president that's willing to take risks. We have a president who's sticking his neck out. He is just on the verge of negotiating potentially a treaty with North Korea. And to do that, he's going to have to lay it on the line and tell them, hey, it's now or never, basically, or you're gone. We'll blow the heck out of you if you don't come to terms right now. But we'll see what happens. But that's why we need this very strong president right now. And I'm doing my best, Larry Klayman at Freedom Watch. We're nonpartisan, but I'll tell you something. This president needs to succeed. And since Ronald Reagan, he's probably the only president that I personally have liked. And I don't care what he says. I don't care if he's coarse sometimes. I care about results. This country doesn't have much time left. We can't worry about politically correct speech. We can't worry about whether in his prior life he did this or he did that. And we basically have to worry about the country, and we have to worry about ourselves. You know, if you take the left at its word, which is, of course, dishonest 99.9% of the time, you know, all of our founding fathers were flawed, but they were great men. They were philosophers. They were lawyers. They were teachers. They were inventors. Benjamin Franklin, from my native city of Philadelphia, the Franklin Museum, he discovered electricity. You know, these are the things that really make men great. I mean, sure, they have their flaws, you know, and the left and the radical African-American community will say that Jefferson had slaves, that others had slaves, and this and that and this and that. You know what? But we're all imperfect people. But this president is willing to get the job done. But this week, it's really an ominous sign. The investigation of Robert Mueller has taken a really dark traveling path. He got a grand jury subpoena into the Trump organization. He's now gone far beyond anything involving Russian collusion or obstruction of justice, as alleged, which is complete nonsense when the president fired James Comey. He's now going into the Trump business empire. So it's clear that he's out to get the president at all costs, and he's willing to use the powers of the Justice Department to do it. And he's willing to use the powers of the grand jury to do it. And it takes judges, basically, to allow for that thing to occur. We have the chief judge of the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, Burl Howe. I have written to her. I've asked her to look into grand jury leaks that are coming out of that grand jury nearly every day to try to destroy the president and everybody around him, notwithstanding any possible indictment or impeachment report. They're trying to smear him to the point that his presidency comes to an end. And I've also got a judge over there by the name of Amy Berman Jackson that rubber stamps everything in the Manafort investigation, and also a case that I brought, which is up on appeal, which is to have the Justice Department's Office of Professional Responsibility and Inspector General investigate and take action against Mueller and his corrupt leftist staff for all of these criminal leaks and conflicts of interest. Well, this is the state of the nation today. And it's not just that you have Mueller, that you have Comey, that you have this leftist staff. It's not just that you have people in the intelligence agencies that have illegally wiretapped Trump and the people around him and have wiretapped others in order to smear them, in order to coerce them, in order to blackmail them. But you've got these federal judges that sit on the bench, and we've talked about it before. They're political appointees. They got their jobs through political patronage by large law firms that they worked for, or labor unions, or corporations, or other special interests, donating large amounts of money, calling in the chits, and therefore they get their yes-men federal judges on the bench. And because of this political patronage, we frequently and most often do not get the best and the brightest. They're not always the sharpest knife in the drawer on top of their political bias and prejudice. And on top of that, on top of that, you have these federal judges now, about 90% are Clinton and Obama appointees. They're far left. They have no respect for the Constitution, much less the rule of law. And then you have some judges on the conservative side that were appointed by Republican presidents who don't have the guts to take on their leftist colleagues. Let me tell you what happens here. Because I've had a number of cases over the years with judges. I started Judicial Watch back in 1994. It says what it means, watching judges, because I saw some very prejudiced and corrupt judges in my lifetime as a young lawyer. And I said, I got to do something about it. I encountered a judge in California by the name of William Keller who made disparaging remarks about my Taiwanese client, about his gay retailer, about his Jewish distributor. And I said to myself, I just can't take it anymore. It was just out of network, and I started Judicial Watch at the time. Well, I ran for the U.S. Senate. I didn't win, and I started Freedom Watch after that. But this remains a problem, and it's getting worse on the federal bench. These judges are either compromised, corrupt, or intellectually deficient. They make decisions based on politics, on who you are. The rich and the powerful go scot-free. The ordinary American citizen winds up frequently getting screwed. And what happens when these judges do something which is unethical? The only recourse is to go to what you call judicial councils, for instance, judicial councils of the District of Columbia Circuit or the Ninth Circuit or any other circuit in this country. And the judges who judge the other judges sit with them on that court. They eat lunch with them, they eat dinner with them, they socialize with them, and they protect the judges who have committed ethical violations and legal violations, because there by the grace of God go thee. Because if I ever get called on the carpet, I want you to protect me. Gee, that rhymes, but it also makes sense. And this is the state that we live in. We have a total breakdown of our legislative branch of government, a bunch of congressmen running around trying to get on Fox News, CNN, or MSNBC, raising money, trying to get elected, two-faced. I mean, just this week, Trey Gowdy, which everybody praises, I don't understand why. We had a hearing many years ago with regard to Extortion 17, the largest loss of life in the Afghan war. 30 special ops went down. It was unexplained. Obama never, ever would tell the families what happened. And I think it may have been an inside job. I think maybe somebody gave our brave heroes up to the Taliban after we killed Osama bin Laden, allegedly. So this is the kind of thing that really is troubling. And Trey Gowdy didn't even show up to that hearing. This week, he says that Hillary Clinton was likely the target of Russian collusion. I mean, this is unbelievable. The guy tries to play both sides of the street. He's obviously going back into private practice with a big Washington law firm that has Democrat clients. So he's shading everything that he does. But He wants to look like big man on campus. Now, he's not the only one. There are many others up there like that. I don't mean to pick on him because he's just one of many. He's not even the worst, frankly. But you've got to break down in Congress. And in addition to these judicial councils that won't hold the president accountable, you have the House Judiciary Committee that's supposed to impeach them. Well, they've only impeached one or two judges in the last several decades. One of them was Alice C. Hastings, a judge in the Southern District of Florida who got caught taking bribes. What happened when he was impeached for bad behavior, to say the least? He ran for Congress. He won. He's still there. But there's no way to hold these judges accountable. They are rubber stamping what Mueller wants. They are rubber stamping what the political establishment wants. They are issuing decisions which are destroying Trump's agenda, which everybody voted for, who listens to this show by and large. And it's a total breakdown. And except for the president himself, the executive branch is controlled by the Obama-Clinton deep state. Look at the intelligence agencies who were part of that executive branch. The CIA, the NSA, the FBI, our chief law enforcement investigatory body. They're all in the hip pocket of these cockroaches that have been left behind of the far left of Obama and Clinton, and they're doing everything they can to undermine this president. And that's why we must rise up. That's why we must do everything that we can legally. That's why I want to be appointed independent counsel. That was in the old days, special counsel. And go to our website at freedomwatchusa.org and sign the petition. Sign the petition to have Jeff Sessions removed as Attorney General because he's not doing his job. I want to be the de facto Attorney General. If I'm special counsel, I will be. We need 100,000 signatures to force the hand of Jeff Sessions or whoever is control of the Justice Department to appoint me. So go to freedomwatchusa.org and sign that, because we don't have much time left, and we need somebody who will lay his life on the line and his profession on the line and his personal life on the line to save this country as our founding fathers did. And I'm not equating myself with them, but perhaps I'm the only thing left. So please sign that petition at freedomwatchusa.org. We'll be right back with more from Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman.
Dangerous.
Don't care. Use the court and the law.
Lethal.
This is bad.
Special Prosecutor
Very bad.
Larry Klayman.
If you'd like to support Freedom Watch and this radio show, go to freedomwatchusa.org.
I want to talk more about the diversions that are taking place to distract the president. This whole Stormy Daniels thing, this porn star that allegedly had an affair with Donald Trump. The left never really had a problem when Bill Clinton had his interns and had whatever he had, who knows, God knows what. The left never had a problem when Hillary Clinton had girlfriends in the White House. And, the joke in Washington used to be the only thing that Bill and Hillary have in common, they both date the same women. This is not something really at this point in time that we need to focus on. But this ultra-feminist Me Too movement, which wants to destroy men at any cost. And sure, there are legitimate cases like out in Hollywood, where there are a few, Harvey Weinstein and others. Yeah, that's serious. And there are people that abuse women, and they should be held accountable. But you know what? There are women that abuse men, women who are unhappy that they didn't get what they wanted, and 30 and 40 years later take it out on some man that they were very happy to sexually exploit. We need to start talking about both sides of the street here. And this Stormy Daniels is a real piece of work. Whether or not the payment of $130,000 was legitimate or even legal, the fact is she cut a deal, right? You can imagine her ethics. Now she wants to one-up it, and she wants to try to destroy the president. I suggest to the president, just ignore it at this point in time. People can also repent and lead a better life. The president has changed in a lot of ways over the years. He became more religious. He's a friend of people of faith, of evangelicals and others. He's a great friend of Israel. He's the only one that ever had the courage to move the embassy from Tel Aviv to Israel. And for that reason, it's good that he got rid of Rex Tillerson as Secretary of State. There was a big oil guy, possibly an anti-Semite, because he's sucking up to big oil in Saudi Arabia and everything else. Obviously, someday he may return to ExxonMobil or whatever. But this president has courage, and he does what needs to be done. And don't worry about the diversions. Like I said in the first part, nobody's perfect. But we do need people with courage. I'm not perfect, let me tell you. Nobody's perfect. But I want to talk a little bit now about the state of the nation ethically and morally, because we do need to tighten that up. We do need to bring back a sense of right and wrong. I've said this many times. It was John Adams who said, without morality and religion and ethics, it doesn't matter how many times you change your government or your forms, or your rulers, you will not have a lasting liberty. And we need to get that back. And we need to teach the young people, we need to teach the millennials ethics and the rule of law. Most people that donate to Freedom Watch, or even my former group, they're in their mid-70s. Ask yourself, why is that? It's because the young people haven't been taught a sense of ethics and morality. They're into text messages. They're into social media. They're into, drugs, a lot of them, whether it's opioids or whether it's mushrooms or whatever. I've never taken them. I didn't even like marijuana. But we have to really bring the country back, and we have to start with the young people. So Larry Klayman, yours truly, not only wants to be special counsel, but this radio show is so important because it allows me to try to educate the American people. Our website at freedomwatchusa.org. I write columns for WorldNet Daily at WND.com and for Newsmax.com. I want to get out there more and more. I want to use Hollywood as a way to entertain and teach the American people the right values. This is what we need to do. It was the printing press that really caused the first American Revolution. And we're going to be headed into a second American Revolution if we can't use the legal system and education to bring the country back. So please go to our website at freedomwatchusa.org, freedomwatchusa.org. Sign the petition to have me named special counsel. Also sign the petition to demand that Jeff Sessions step down and resign as Attorney General or be fired. We need a new way in this country. And I'll tell you something, don't be fooled by people who are running for Congress. I'm not telling you who to vote for. I don't do that. But don't vote for them just because they're a pretty or handsome face. Really check it out and make sure that these people are willing to do the job and are not corrupt. And with regard to federal judges and other judges, we need to start speaking out because we're left defenseless, because we don't have judges basically who stand in the breach for the American people. And that scares me the most because I'm a lawyer and I'm in front of them nearly every day of the week. And I can tell you that they're not even as smart as my dog, most of them. And my dog's pretty smart. So in any event, we'll be right back. We're going to have Bob Barr. We're going to talk about his take on the state of the nation.
And now, 4 words that make corrupt politicians make wee-wee in their little pants.
Transparency and the rule of law will be the touchstones of this presidency.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
Special Prosecutor Larry Klayman.
Be the one who makes our country great again. Go to freedomwatchusa.org and donate.
I want to introduce my good friend, someone who is an individual I could trust, the only one on Capitol Hill I ever could, and that is true to this day. A former U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Georgia, a truly great man, and my colleague, Bob Barr. Bob, how are you doing?
Doing fine, Larry. Thanks, as always, for a kind introduction, and I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about if I know what you have been up to lately.
Well, I want to get your take on what's been happening. I mean, this week we found out that Robert Mueller, the special counsel. In French, there's a word, special. It doesn't exactly mean special. And, this guy's a piece of work. He's now exceeded his authority as special counsel, which was given to him by the Obama holdover, Rod Rosenstein, former U.S. attorney from Maryland. And he's into the Trump organization, investigating the Trump businesses and empire. It's clear that he will stoop to any level and go to any lengths to find information to either indict the president of the United States or send an impeachment report to Congress. And of course, there was a special election in Pennsylvania this week. It didn't go terribly well for the Democrats. And it would appear that there's a good chance that we're going to have a majority in the House of Representatives, a Democrat majority, that will vote lockstep to potentially impeach Donald Trump. He won't get convicted in the Senate, but it's going to grind everything to a halt at the time that we're trying to negotiate some kind of solution with North Korea, Iran, Syria, and God knows what that's on the horizon. So, Bob, I wanted to get your feelings about this because you have a special expertise. You were in Congress for a number of years. You were a U.S. attorney in Georgia, and you can understand the swamp. And not just the swamp in Congress, but the swamp in the judiciary, which rubber stamps what Mueller wants, and the swamp at the Justice Department. Let her rip.
Well, this certainly doesn't surprise you or me, Larry, or a lot of observers like you and I who understand the abuses of government, the deep corruption, the power that government has. It doesn't surprise us that Mueller is going off in whatever direction he wants and subpoenaing whatever he wants to get the pleas from whoever he can pressure. Because when the authority, so to speak, was given to him by Rosenstein, even though on the surface it appears to be a limited authority, it's anything but. It is an abuse of authority. It is as broad as Mueller wants it to be, and now he's going into the personal and corporate affairs of Trump organization, the Trump family, and so forth, and he's going to try and put pressure wherever he can. And as you say, whether it results in a prosecution, an attempted prosecution of the president or his family or or to send to what the cards now indicate may be a Democratic victory for the House majority next year, or this year rather. It could be that he tries to generate or ignite an impeachment. But it's as clear an illustration of what's wrong with Washington and what happens when you have an overpowerful government peopled by individuals who are prone to abuse it.
Well, and of course, we have an attorney general who just sits there twiddling his thumbs. What's your take about this, Bob? Because, I've been critical of him, more critical than you have. Actually, I have a petition on our website at freedomwatchusa.org urging him to resign. But there's nobody in charge over at the Justice Department. You're a former Justice Department prosecutor at the highest level. What do you think about what's going on with the Attorney General?
It's a real shame that there does not appear to be, well, I shouldn't say that, there is not strong leadership at the department, and you really need that. This notion that the Attorney General felt the need to recuse himself from a major potential investigation or a major part of what would come to be the controversies that we're seeing now, simply because he might have had a couple of meetings with somebody while he was a senator, really made no sense to begin with, and I think just illustrates the lack of resolve at the highest levels of the Department of Justice and some of the individuals that Trump has chosen. And you still have, even approaching now a year and a half into this administration, many positions, not just at the Department of Justice, but other departments that remain unfilled. And that means that individuals that are holdovers from the Obama administration or old Bush holdovers, Bush people that have been locked themselves into bureaucracy, that they're basically calling the shots and implementing the policies that they want, not the policies that the president wants.
Well, I also want to talk about the president's lawyers. We know one of them, Jay Sekulow. He's a nice guy, but he's not a criminal defense lawyer. And we have John Dowd, basically his Republican establishment. His time may have come in past. And then Ty Cobb, who is actually a Democrat, I don't know if you remember, Bob, but he actually defended John Wong, who I helped uncover during the Clinton years in the Chinagate scandal. He was defending Wong. I mean, he was at depositions that I was taking. And these guys have just kind of led the president, I believe, down the primrose path. They keep promising him that Mueller's going to end his investigation. They keep turning over information to Mueller, and they don't take strong action. And in my view, they're part of this Washington establishment, which goes to a lot of parties in Georgetown and everywhere else. They put their own interests ahead of the president's. They're making a lot of money off of this thing, and they're getting dragged along. I've recommended that a mutual friend of ours, Craig Gillen, somebody like that, who was deputy independent counsel during Irangate, during Lawrence Walsh, somebody like that she hired outside of Washington, to defend the president. But they don't listen. And these guys are dragging him along, and they're changing his basic instincts because he's been illegally wiretapped. Why isn't he brought lawsuits against the people in the Obama deep state? And we know who they are. They're Comey, they're Mueller himself. He was wiretapped during the Mueller years at the FBI. They're John Brennan, former CIA director. They're James Clapper, former director of national intelligence. And this president's not fighting back. He's just getting dragged along. So I want to see what you think about my take on this.
Well, of course, here again, as a longtime observer and somebody who has fought for years, decades really, against the Washington establishment and the swamp Larry, you have a very, very keen eye for what's going on. I think if there's one mistake, perhaps, that Trump made when he took office, actually when he was preparing to take office as the president-elect, was to underestimate the power of the Washington establishment. It goes levels down, several levels down in Washington, and is found everywhere, not just within the executive branch, not just in the White House, not just within the bureaucracies, but within the silk-stocking law firms, the lobby organizations up there. It truly is deeply embedded in the system, and I don't think Trump really understood that, although he should have, because he saw it during his business career in New York especially. But he underestimated it, and he has not done as good a job as he really should in putting strong people into these positions. Sometimes it was, for example, as the Attorney General giving one of his early supporters the job that he coveted without really giving a lot of thought to, putting somebody strong in that position in anticipation of the criticism and slings and arrows that people would throw at him. And he still hasn't. And I don't think also, I agree with you, Larry, that the president's lawyers have not served him well. I remember hearing them months and months ago claiming that the Mueller investigation was almost over. It's going to be wrapped up, folks. Go home. There's nothing to see here. Don't worry about it. And again, anybody who knows Washington, as you do and as I do, know very well that Mueller wasn't just going to fold up shop when he has an open-ended invitation to investigate anything or anybody and unlimited resources.
Well, that's right. And, one of the things that I think the president needs to do, he needs to start swinging for the fences and not worry about it. He can't do it half. It can't be a little bit pregnant here. He's got to take strong action. Now, he just replaced Rex Tillerson. He's one of the people, I think, Bob, you were alluding to, who he put in power at the State Department that didn't represent his interests. I mean, this is a guy who was even opposed to moving the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem.
I never understood that. Why Trump didn't put somebody that he really knew and trusted in that position. That was the one position, along with the Attorney General, that really did actually made less sense than putting Sessions in as AG. I can understand that from a support and friendship standpoint, but Tillerson made no sense. He and President Trump were never on the same wavelength.
No, and there are others too, and I think, and I recommend, he's got to take strong action. I don't think he can worry about the backlash. He's probably going to wind up getting impeached. You know about that. We impeached Bill Clinton. It only takes a majority vote in the House. And I think he's got to basically clean house right now. He's got to clean out Sessions. I frankly think he should fire Mueller. Let the rest of the country that voted for him, we'll rise up. If necessary, we'll come to Washington, D.C. We'll do it peacefully, but we're going to, I hope, exercise the strength of protest and start doing what the left has done for many years, not violently, non-violently, kind of like Martin Luther King. But we can't just sit there and watch this happen, and he's got to exercise his executive authority. And the bottom line is that he is the chief executive officer. He controls all the federal departments. He can take action, get people in that aren't political hacks, and get the job done. And don't listen to your lawyers. They're dragging you along. Now they want you to be interviewed again with a commitment from Mueller. That would be
the worst mistake anybody in Trump's position could make, would be to be talked into giving any kind of interview with any sort of stipulations to Mueller. And even if it were right off the bat, but now after we've seen where Mueller's going and how he operates, I mean, it would be foolhardy in the extreme for President Trump to be talked into giving an interview to Mueller.
Not just an interview, even answers to written questions. I mean, this guy's got so many people out there who have made statements to save their own skin that a lot of them are false. There's Sam Nunberg, for instance. The guy's Looney Tunes. And he could then compare what Nunberg says to what other people say, and then say Trump committed perjury, you know? And you know that we caught Hillary Clinton in perjury. Nothing happened to her because of a Democrat jury in the District of Columbia. The independent counsel, Robert Ray, let her go. But we're not in those times anymore. Democrat jury is foaming at the mouth to take Trump apart.
Sure. Perjury, and of course, as you know as well as I do, the infamous 18 U.S.C. 1001. If you say something that is misleading or false to a federal official, doesn't even have to be a law enforcement official, as long as they're acting within the scope of their jurisdiction and authority. If you say something basically that they don't like, you can be hit with an 18 U.S.C. 1001 felony violation.
That's right. And you can be hit with more than that. I mean, there's a lot out there, and we don't know what he's dealing with. And, it's taking a toll on his family. We heard this week that Eric Trump Jr. is getting divorced from his wife. I'm sure that the pressure was probably a result of all of this. And, it's a real tragedy what's going on right now. So we, the American people, need to rise up. We need to make our voice known. We need to try to protect this president. I do believe in terms of a president, he's our last hope. Of course, our last hope is really ourselves and God. But we have to do something, Bob. I don't see that we can just sit back and watch this happen.
No, and you've never been afraid of the press, and neither have I, but there still seem to be a lot of people in this administration that are worried about what the mainstream media thinks about all of this. Real America doesn't care that Secretary Tillerson left, or how he left, or why he left. They don't care about that. They want to see things get done. And worrying about what the cable stations or the New York Times or the Washington Post says about something, or how important they think it is that President Trump or the private citizen Trump may have been involved in a commercial effort in Russia. That doesn't matter to the American people. And the sooner that this administration...
Yeah, we lost Bob on the cell phone. Maybe he's been taken hostage by the Obama-Clinton deep state. But we're going to be back shortly. I want you to go to our website at freedomwatchusa.org, freedomwatchusa.org. Sign the petition to have me named special counsel. Frankly, I may be the last hope here, even if I have to scratch my own back and toot my own horn. We'll be right back with Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman.
Before he was a trial lawyer, he sliced him and diced him.
People used to ask me, Larry, what caused you to start Judicial Watch and now Freedom Watch, given the powerful forces in this country that put you at risk?
In a meat packing plant.
I'm the son of meat packers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I know how to slice and dice.
A very special prosecutor, Larry Klayman.
If you'd like to support Freedom Watch and this radio show, go to freedomwatchusa.org.
I have a call to action right now. And as I said, even if I have to sound a little conceited or sound a little bit too much into myself, I'm going to do it right now, because I don't think anybody in this country today, particularly a lawyer, is going to stick his neck out, much less stick his neck out like I will stick my neck out. I don't care what it takes. During the Clinton years, I had security It affected me personally and in other respects. But we don't have time to worry about what can happen at this point in time. We have to risk all. Our founding fathers pledged their fortunes, their sacred honor, and their lives to found a new nation in my birthplace of Philadelphia. Of course, Florida is my home now. But we can't wait for this country to be destroyed. The president is defenseless. He has lawyers who are incompetent and hapless. He's got a Congress that sits there that just wants to get on cable news and get reelected and earn money. He's got people out there in the executive branch, the Obama-Clinton deep state, that want to destroy him, and the intelligence agencies. And I call your attention to my column this weekend at WND.com. Please read it carefully, because it's dealing with basically how the whole system has broken down. I spent the better part of the last month in Washington, D.C. I really don't like being there anymore unless I have to be there. Of course, I go there a lot. But there's an evil cloud hanging over that city. I spoke about it last week. The president actually made reference to it in his rally in Pittsburgh this week. It's just evil. You get this uneasy feeling that the country is just imploding, and that there's so much virus, there's so much political disease, that this country is disintegrating. And that's why we need a special counsel at this time that will hold all of them accountable. And I'm not talking just about Obama, the Clintons, their deep state. I'm not just talking about Mueller or Comey or others. I'm talking about the federal judges who are appointed by virtue of campaign contributions or who they are. When they get on the bench, they're called in to call the chits for the people that got them there. They are not the best and the brightest, and that scares me because I'm a lawyer. You know, this is again why I started Judicial Watch back in 1994, almost 25 years ago. At this point, it'll be 25 years ago next year, and I run Judicial Freedom Watch now. You can go to it at freedomwatchusa.org, because I firmly believe, and I'm not one of those conservatives that thinks the judicial branch is a lesser branch of government. I think the judicial branch is our most important branch of government. It was King George that took our justice system back to the court of King James. That's why we fought the revolution in large part. And without judges who will protect us, without ridding the nation of these yes men, these very prejudiced and biased judges, most of them quite mediocre in intellect, then we are in deep trouble. Because what is the alternative? A violent revolution? I think we're headed there. I don't want to see it. I won't participate in a violent revolution, but I'll tell you something, that's where we're going. So go to freedomwatchusa.org, freedomwatchusa.org, freedomwatchusa.org. Sign our petition, because we need 100,000 signatures, and get the word out. Tweet this radio show. It's on radioamerica.com, their blog. It's on our website at freedomwatchusa.org. Share it on Twitter. Send it out on Facebook. Get it out far and wide. Get out my columns. We need to educate the American people. You know, I am the Pied Piper, so to speak. And we're not just mice. We're men. We can make a difference, men and women, I might add, to be politically correct, because this country is on the verge of extinction. We don't even know it now. Our enemies are building up nuclear weapons. Russia's military is more powerful than our own. It has advanced nuclear weapons. Ours are sitting rotting in silos in North Dakota. You got China that copies everything we do. They have a modern military. You got North Korea. You got Iran. You've got, all kinds of threats around the world. And we're imploding from within, and we're trying to destroy the one president that will take them on for the time being. And if you think that Clinton and Obama were bad, if President Trump goes down, you can wait and see what we get. So go to freedomwatchusa.org, freedomwatchusa.org. We need a citizens army. We need a Gideon's army. We need to bring this country back and contribute to our cause. We need your financial support badly. We're the mouse that roared. So go to freedomwatchusa.org. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. And most of all, God save America. We'll be back next week.